attribute probably is his awareness of the game. The tactical ability to, before the game, go over the opposition, to make the team play the way he feels is the best way to play against the opposition. And at half-time to come in, and if things aren't going well, to be able to change the pattern of play and go out in the second half and turn the game round.
I don't think there's any secret behind the man. I mean, his knowledge of the game is fantastic. I mean, not that I've been with any other managers really under anybody else, but his knowledge is fantastic, and his motivation for the players, you know, he gets the best out of every player. There's no doubt about that, you know. He knows each individual and how to work them to get the best out of them.
Well, the most important thing, I think, is that all us younger managers look up to Mr. Ferguson, with him being the older manager among the ones in Scotland at the moment.
It's great to see the lads enjoying a game, just enjoying themselves. When one of our scouts comes back from watching a youngster play, we like to hear about his enthusiasm as much as his ability. It's important to know that he'll play just as well when the weather's bad or his team's losing. I only hope that today, after all the work we've done, our players will have the same kind of enthusiasm. All of them will, I'm certain of that. Knowing that is about the only thing that makes Saturdays just a bit bearable.
Before a match, he's a very nervous person. That's starting probably the Friday evening. He's very nervous. Even the start of this season, I was down with Manchester United at the Charity Shield, and he phoned my hotel in the morning, and the league was starting up here. He says, "I've had enough of a rough night's sleep again." He says, "I can't bear thinking about it. I hate pre-season, the first game of the season." He said, "I've just signed Stevie Cowan just away to Hibs. We're playing him the first game of the season. I can see Cowan scoring the winning goal or something like that."
I think it's hard for him. I think he really wants to be out in the park doing what we're doing. He's obviously trying to get himself motivated. He struts about the dressing room a bit and goes around the players and disappears into the toilet for 10-15 minutes, but he gets really uptight before a game.
People say that they may be classed as a born winner, people who are classed as born winners. I don't think it really applies in my case when you consider it really. I didn't win much as a player. I never really won any big prize at all as a player. But I had this great desire to win. And of course, I mean, it doesn't matter which situation I was in as a player. This came through in my attitude towards the game. Always wanting to win, a great desire to win. I think it's carried me right into management. But the winning thing that is part of wanting to win and being a bad loser, you know, that I'm a terrible loser.
Without any shadow of doubt, I think that's an important part of Alec Ferguson, and I don't think that there's any place in football for really good losers. People will argue on that one, but make no mistake, none of us like losing, and Alec would not like to be a good loser. I don't mind losing with a bit of respect, but beyond any shadow of doubt, we don't like losing.
He definitely is the world's worst loser. There's no doubt about that. At any game he plays, maybe the quiz on the team bus going to the game, snooker's another one. He hates getting beat at snooker. I've seen men transfer for beating him at snooker.
He's breeding that into everybody that comes to the club, and that can only be good for the club.
I think Alec is a marvellous product of all that's good in his environment, the environment which shaped him. He doesn't try to be a Clint Eastwood, you know, that's riding roughshod over people, but he's tough. He knows what he wants and he goes out to get it.
In the environment I came from, governed just after the war, there was nothing else to do but play games. Football was natural, more so in my case because my father was football mad. He was certainly the biggest influence in my early career. He played for Glentoran when he worked in the shipyards in Belfast. His influence was to play and practice. He always said, if you're going to be something, be good at it.
Scrub.
the football that we loved best included what we would call gallus individuals. Gallus, swaggering, Tanner ball players kind of thing, you know. Jim Baxter is the best example of that in the post-war years. And they always wanted, as kids, nobody wanted to be a goalkeeper. That's why we've got a bad tradition of goalkeepers in Scotland, because when you picked your team, you know, you picked everybody else, and the two boys that were left at the end, usually wee fellas with glasses like the bottom of milk bottles, you put them in goal. Nobody wanted to be a goalie. They always wanted to kill the ball, bring it down, and score goals, and that kind of stuff. But, you know, there was another aspect to it. They liked Tanner ball players, but they didn't like them playing for themselves. So everyone could express themselves as long as they were doing it within the team effort.
People who bother to look back and appreciate what has been done for them will always recognise the Bob Innes's of the world. You hear about people get OBEs and nighthoods and all the rest of it, but why do these guys not get it? And there's Bob Innes, 40 years with Hamner Old Boys Club, 40 years having to strive and beg and borrow to keep that club alive. I sometimes read about young players talking about the biggest influence in their life, and it angers me when some of us say their manager and their coach. I think they have their part to play, but it gets me. I like to see people acknowledge their school teacher or their boys club official or their father.
I remember Alec Ferguson coming to Harmony Row when he would be about 10 or 11 year old with a big number of boys from the Govan High School. And they all came in as a team prepared to work, to do a lot of business, and they were all tremendously enthusiastic. And I also remember him playing with tremendous enthusiasm. As I say, he was a part of a good team and they worked together. Not only did they play football together, they went about together, and to me that makes a happy team. Alec has always been tremendously enthusiastic in working to get himself on a ball and to encourage other people to play too. And this is very important when you're a manager. You've got to have a team working with you, and he seems, in my opinion, to have the right idea regarding that.
I was born in the shadow of a fair field green, and the blast of a freighter's horn was the very first sound that reached my ears on the morning I was born.
The great thing about Govan is its pride. It's full of life and vitality, springing from the shipyards. But my father didn't want my brother and me to go into the yards, funnily enough. He wanted us to do something else, like engineering or whatever. But my only hope was to be a player.
Or you join the parish feud, and times got harder day by day along the riverside, and I've often heard my mother say it was tears that made the Clyde.
I made a decision to start my career with Queen's Park. They had a great reputation of at that time of producing players to become professionals. And I took that step, and I enjoyed my time there as an amateur. I made then a decision maybe now, looking back, I would not have made it again, going to St Johnstone, which really was a great spell for me because I was part-time at the football. And part-time at the football was also part-time in thought. My whole attention was to football. And I had a different outlook in life at that particular period as a player.
There was a reserve match against Rangers, and they used a bit of a cold as an excuse for ducking out, because we'd had some hammers of reserves at that time. Until my father heard about it, he went crazy. I was a disgrace to football, I was this, I was that, he called me everything. He then sent me off to phone the manager, and he laid into me as well. The upshot was I played and scored a hat-trick and never looked back. Getting the transfer to Dunfermline was the thing. I just finished my apprenticeship as a toolmaker and was earning £27 a week and another £16 as a part-time with the club. But I decided to go full-time. Despite a drop of £15, the desire was there. I was determined to work at the game. Paulie Cunningham gave me a great opportunity.
Alec attracted me as a player simply because he could score goals. He had that potential to be in the right place at the right time. I didn't care how he got there.
We had a sort of a love-hate relationship. I mean, he really liked me, but we had so many arguments. It was incredible. But it was also a great respect. I appreciate everything he did for me.
He was always probing me, any decision I had made, or the way I wanted the team to play, or the way I wanted him to play. And many's an argument we had about this. But it all ended up amicably. We were still very good friends through it all.
As a player, I started to do something. I got a Scottish League cap. I went on a Far East tour with the Scotland team. The papers were mentioning the interests of such clubs as Newcastle, Notts Forest, Leicester and Chelsea. But the chance came to move to Rangers, and I just couldn't turn that down.
Here's Hine. To Henderson. To Johnston. Ferguson's a goal! Oh my goodness.
When I did get to Ibrox, Scott Simon had taken over as manager, and he was awesome. When he walked in the dressing room each morning, the talking stopped. He had such a great presence. We'd never see his like again, because the game has changed. But I do believe that the sacking of Scott Simon took away the greatness from me. I wish that more of my players would prepare themselves to be managers, you know. I made up my mind early. When I got married, I didn't go on honeymoon. I went to the coaching school to get my badge.
That really was the start of the friendship with myself and Alec. And at that time, all I knew about him was his elbows, because when we played against him, that's the only thing he knew. But from then on, we've kept close contact, and in the beginning, he got quite a few answers from looking over my shoulder in the exam paper, so I would say that it's probably my fault that he passed.
I was offered the Aberdeen job when Alan McLeod left to manage Scotland, but then I said that I was trying to build something into another Aberdeen. It wasn't until I came to Pittodrie that I realised it was impossible to make St Mirren or any other club another Aberdeen. Aberdeen is special. It's got greatness. My first season at Pittodrie was terrible for me. It couldn't end soon enough. But then I decided to stop worrying about my predecessors and their past records and all the rest of it and be myself. I'd inherited a good team and I built considerable in that. There were changes, but whatever a newly appointed manager might say when he arrives about no changes and the like, there has to be.
When he first came to Pittodrie, we had a few run-ins at half-time, simply because it was very emotional for him. He came in at half-time and he started going through all the players, and when it came to me, I reacted a wee bit like himself. But I think we've got used to each other now, and he still reacts quite violently as when we're not doing well. But in the same token, if we're doing well, he comes in and he has a nice wee chat to you and everything's nice and civilised. But if we go and we're 2-1 down, then he's not too happy, and it does get a bit boisterous.
I believe he was a bit of a hard case type centre forward, you know, scored a few goals and rumble him up. But I think his attitude as a player is carried into management, because I think he's a hard manager.
I've only bought 10 players during my 7 years at Aberdeen, and I've sold 25. By any stretch of the imagination, that's not bad in a club this size.
Good try, Sid. Sid, don't be afraid to use the player in the byline. Run at him and you can still look for your pass.
I'm a firm believer in a youth policy. If they're good enough, they're old enough, no matter what the age. John Hewitt made his debut at 16. Neil Cooper made his in the European Cup against Liverpool at 16. Eric Black was 17. I say to the young players when they arrive at Pittodrie, think of McLeish and Miller. Leighton, McMaster, Cooper, Simpson, Black, all produced by the club and all internationalists. It's magnificent.
He's known as a good motivator, and there's no doubt about that. That's definitely a strong part of his job. I mean, his knowledge of the game is great, but his motivation is tremendous.
In and away. Okay, protect the end. Next second ball. In you come, John. Well done, Sid. Have a hit, Frank.
I tell the parents of young players, look, I'm not guaranteed that I'll make them world beaters like Strachan and McQuish or the like. But what I will do will be worthwhile. We'll try to give them good disciplines. We'll try to encourage ambition and foster their hope.
He gives players good habits. From an early age, young players will learn good habits that will carry on through the rest of their career. I know that I'm at Manchester United just now, and I hope I've learned a lot of good things from him.
I see good discipline in Dundee United because I know the manager down there thinks as I do. The player's got to be made to keep his feet in the ground.
Discipline is vitally important in any sphere of life, I think. But I also think that it's a wee bit difficult at times with the youth that's coming into the game and the attitudes of some of the younger players to keep their feet on the ground.
Success changes some of them, the media changes them, and agents and all the other hanger-ons, unless we can instill reality into their thinking.
I remember once there was a young boy at Pittodrie. I'll leave his name out because he might get embarrassed. But the boss had put a ban on anybody getting their hair permed. This lad took it a bit lightly, so he went and got his hair permed. The boss seen it next again day and made him wear a balaclava at training until he got his hair cut. He looked like something from the SAS.
They might think I'm a pure bandit. There's other words they use, I'm sure, but I'm not interested.
Bell takes over for Aberdeen. Was taken out of his stride as he went forwards.
I think a team mirrors its manager, and I've never gone in for players who are nasty. There are times when they've got to stand up and be counted in a physical sense, but at the end of the day, there's nothing better for a manager than achieving things the proper way.
So 10 minutes into the first half and a free kick in a very dangerous situation for Aberdeen. Willie Miller to take it. Breaks almost to the feet of Billy Stark. The challenge came from Derek Johnston. Still Aberdeen keep the pressure on.
During the year in which we won the European Cup Winners' Cup, we played 60 games and didn't have a player suspended.
Simpson picking up the loose ball again, releasing Weir on the left.
In a time when there's much talk about behaviour, I was disappointed that the SFA didn't recognise the lad's achievement.
There it goes again, and Frank McDougall with a header, and Aberdeen are ahead.
future as a manager, I'll always be rosy for him because he's a man that wants to learn all the time. No matter where he goes, if he goes to a bad club, he'll make them good. If he goes to a good club, he'll make them great. That's not to say that he'll leave Aberdeen. I don't know if he'll want to leave Aberdeen. I've got a sneaking feeling that he wants to win the European Cup here before he does anything else in his future as a manager. The squad he's got, the determination he's got, he'll do it.
Winning the big trophies has given me a great sense of satisfaction and justified all the late night trips to Glasgow and wherever to watch matches. Just as satisfying is the satisfaction of seeing people like Teddy Scott enjoying a bit of success. People have served the club for 40 years.
His future potential, I mean, that's unlimited, really. I mean, he could do anything, I think, that he puts his mind to. I don't know, really. The sky's the limit, I think.
He can handle players. He's good at man management. He's good in the tactical side. He's good with the press. So I think whatever he wants to turn his hand to, whatever job he thinks will suit him better in the future, I'm sure he'll do very well.
It's very difficult at his age to make up your mind, particularly when you have a family. But I think that he will eventually go overseas and develop something in some of the, as we call the European games. But it would be a tremendous loss to Scotland if he did that.
I will say all the same, he's got to have the day-to-day involvement. He's got to have being involved with players all the time, daily. So I may be crossing bridges here before they appear, but I still think that Alec Ferguson and Aberdeen are very lucky to have each other.